Welcome back. It's 47 minutes past 9 here in Paris. It's time for Eye on Africa, our daily roundup of all the latest news from the African continent. The headlines this hour. Pre-election violence in Nigeria. The ruling party says 30 of its members have been killed over the last 2 weeks in Rivers State ahead of a parliamentary election rerun. We'll be speaking to our correspondent on the ground. South Sudan continues to move towards peace politically. The 2 million displaced by more than 2 years of war continue to suffer. We'll be having a look in this news bulletin at the thousands of children who've been pushed beyond the borders of Sudan by the war and who are often still fighting alone for their survival. And performance art is being celebrated in Abidjan this week. The Massa festival has brought around 2,000 artists from across the continent together for a festival devoted to dance, theatre and music. We'll be taking you there for a sneak peek. We begin, though, in Nigeria, where last year's presidential and parliamentary election was held up as an example of good governance and mature democracy on the African continent. But in the oil-rich Rivers State, the polls had to be cancelled amid fears of fraud and violence. On March 19th, the votes to go ahead. The ruling party, though, says that 30 of its members have died in the state, which is a stronghold of the opposition Democrats. They've denied any responsibility, blaming the killings on satanic cult clashes. For more on the story, we can speak now to Chika Odua, who joins us from Nigeria. Thanks very much indeed for being with us, Chika. First of all, tell us a little bit more about what's gone on in this state and why it's proving such a problem.
Exactly. It's just as you said, for over the past 2 weeks, we've had increased amounts of clashes, a lot of civic unrest in Rivers State, and so far at least 32 people have been killed. And this is really just a political rivalry between the ruling party, which is the APC, and the former ruling party, the PDP in Nigeria, that's been ruled. It was ruling Nigeria for the past 16 years. It seems, basically that there is a very strong tug of war in trying to control Rivers State. And Rivers State is one of the most politically important states. So this political rivalry has led to dozens of lives lost.
Now, the Rivers State is never mentioned without being prefixed by oil-rich. Oil appears to be at the heart of the problems that are bedeviling this state.
Yes, that's exactly right. Nigeria's oil-producing region, part of it lies in Rivers State. Rivers State generates much of Nigeria's money. Also, Rivers State receives a lot of money in the federal allocation. So when we talk about Rivers State, we're not talking about a minor player. This is a huge player in Nigerian politics. And of course, there's a lot of instability in Nigerian politics and the economy because of the unstable oil prices, which are not favorable to an oil-producing region like Nigeria. So whoever controls Nigeria really has a huge influence in who controls the oil money. So we're talking about, millions of dollars here. Again, let me just say that last part again. Whichever party controls Rivers State has a huge influence in the control of oil money coming in and out of Nigeria.
Chika Odua joining us there from the Nigerian capital, Abuja, on that pre-election violence. We'll keep an eye, of course, on events there in Rivers State, and more particularly on that rerun when it is held on the 19th of March. To Zambia now, where tension appears to be growing ahead of the elections that are planned for the month of August. A leading Zambian opposition politician who was arrested twice last week has pleaded not guilty to a charge of training a private militia ahead of the poll. United Party for National Development Vice President Geoffrey Mwamba today accused the government of persecuting the opposition.
So I think I don't blame the government for what they are doing. So we have to pay the price. They are persecuting us for doing nothing just because of our popularity. But we want to assure the Zambian people that I think we'll continue with the struggle. We'll continue speaking for them.
We head now to South Sudan, a country closer to peace than it has been at any point over the course of the last 2.5 years. But for many, life there remains impossible. The 2 million who've been displaced by the 2.5 years of war, many remain still away from their homes. The spread of the civil war of the last few months has also pushed thousands of people southwards into neighbouring Democratic Republic of Congo. Many of those are unaccompanied children who are not only alone, but of course also deeply traumatized by all that they've been through. Here's Ben Barnier with more.
I can pick him.
He's only 16, but already in charge of his 6 younger sisters. Emmanuel and his siblings left South Sudan and took refuge in this camp in the Democratic Republic of Congo.
As I'm speaking now, I can feel like crying, but as I'm a man, I cannot cry because my mother was shot during that crisis, and my father has left us to come here and went back. We don't know where he is now.
Just like Emmanuel and his sisters, over 2 million South Sudanese, a fifth of the population, have fled the country. They left behind a civil war which has claimed 50,000 lives, one that uses rape as a weapon of war.
These guys in the bush, they came arresting girls, going with them to the bush. And if they arrest you, you go there cooking for them, they turn you as your wife. And if you refuse to do such, they will shoot you dead.
Uganda is another destination for South Sudanese refugees. In this camp in the northern part of the country, UNICEF goes to lengths to run schools for the refugees.
The resources, financial resources, going down from the district to the Ministry of Education to schools is not enough to allow schools to function normally.
8 agencies have made it a priority to protect South Sudanese children. According to UNICEF, since the beginning of the civil war, over 16,000 children have been enrolled by armed groups.
Ethiopia's Prime Minister has apologised for the death and destruction caused by weeks of protest in the Oromia region. Addressing Parliament today, Haile Mariam Desalegn blamed anti-peace forces, adding that the government now needed to listen to the grievances of the people. The Oromia region has been hit by months of unrest, of course, in which 200 people have reportedly died, a number that is disputed by the government. A South African woman's been found guilty of kidnapping a newborn. 2 decades ago, the defendant raised the girl as her own just a short distance from where the real parents were living. Her crime was only discovered after the couple's second daughter befriended a girl at school who looked remarkably like her. Today, Celeste Nurse, Zephany Nurse's biological mother, was in court to hear the verdict.
Very emotional. And I'm glad that the law has taken its place. It's been 17 years, still doesn't bring back anything, but at least I can build my relationship with my daughter.
Now to the largest cultural event of its kind in West Africa. The Massa festival celebrates African performance art. It's currently on in Abidjan and will last until Saturday, bringing together around 2,000 artists from across the continent. Well, festival goers have been enjoying hundreds of dance, theatre and musical acts. The festival is also a platform for some lesser-known artists to make themselves seen and heard. Our correspondents Arnaud Frogère and Anna Sylvestre Trainer have sent this report.
On the banks of Abidjan's lagoon, there's an unusual and wonderful sight. Packing the streets around the city's cultural centre are actors, singers and dancers from 37 African countries.
You realize that we have something that the whole world is not seeing, and that Massa is a platform that we can show to the world what Ghana also has. So we came here to represent Ghana, to let the people have an experience of what we do in Ghana.
Ghanaian singers, Moroccan actors or storytellers from Madagascar, Massa is a cultural melting pot with more than 350 performances. The event also gives a professional, international platform to lesser-known artists and art forms.
If you look closely at the artistic fabric in Africa, you have incredible dancers, theatre people, storytellers, and incredibly rich artistry. It's Massa's goal to promote and formalize these art forms so that in 3, 4, or 5 years, they have the place they deserve.
Pushing the boundaries of dance, theatre and storytelling is this year's highly anticipated Nuit Blanche à Ouagadougou. The show was written by Smokey, a singer and activist from Burkina Faso. It tells the story of the 2014 revolution and the importance of artists in society.
People don't realize that art is such a strong force when it comes to change, in a mostly positive way. So much so that sometimes it's surprising. We forget a lot that some moments in history have been precipitated by artists.
The festival is open to all, but at heart, Massa is a chance for African artists to come together and be given the stage and praise they deserve.
And just before we go, some news just coming into us here in the newsroom. It has been announced that the second round of Niger's presidential election will go ahead even without the opposition, which has announced the boycott of Hama Amadou against the incumbent President Mahamadou Issoufou. That second round will go ahead nonetheless. It's just been announced on March 20th. More news from the African continent at 10:45, which is in just over 45 minutes. Do stay with us. Marco and I will be back in just a moment with the rest of the day's news.